Welcome to the Manifestation Kitchen, where I open our cooking pot so inspirational geniuses who heal the world with food, words, touch, and movement can add their ingredients for our culinary pleasure of the soul. My name is Victoria Dioh. I'm the proud owner of Manifestation Kitchen, and today we have the inspirational Emily Gowor. Now, I met Emily over 2 years ago, and she's one of the most inspirational women I know. She's the author of 11 books, including her recent one, Born Great. She has shared the stage with the legendary John Demartini, and he's also wrote the foreword for her book, and she's also has some of the most influential business leaders in the world seeking her services to edit their books. Isn't that incredible? More than anything else, Emily helps others achieve their dream of becoming authors. There's so much more that you need to find out about Emily. So why don't we just get cooking and find out what she's got to say? I'll speak to you soon.
So good.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm not even going to tell you what we're laughing about, because if I tell you, I'm going to tell you at another time. But welcome to Manifestation Kitchen. This is the podcast with the amazing Emily Gowor, who is not only is she amazing, because I know she's amazing. She knows I know she's amazing, but she's patient. She's very patient. We're having fun today recording this podcast, and we're here. And this is what creativity looks like, guys. So, Emily, thanks so much for coming. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. Don't you love technology?
I love it. I love it. I think it's great. Guys, I will tell you about this one day, I promise you. So Emily, I wanted to start by saying, I remember when we met, and you say it was 2018, so that's 2 years ago. And my vision of you was you leaning against a wall in this hotel at the John Demartini course. It was my first course, so I didn't know what to expect. I'd met the man probably for about a few hours at an event, and I knew I had to go and work with him. And you were there just so quiet. And it was only when he reached out and spoke about you that I realized that you guys were not only good friends, but he had completely transformed your life.
Yes, it's a good way to say it. His work has been absolutely one of the most profound, tools is probably a weird, strange word to use, but one of the most profound accesses for me into creating the life that I love. So that's definitely not a stretch to say that. And I've been studying John's work for more than 13 years, so more than a decade. And I discovered his work when I was 19, so you can do the math. I'm now 33. So I've been studying with John for a long time. And so, yes, that weekend, I think when we met was definitely not my first breakthrough experience. I've done more than 30 of them combined. I used to do facilitating as well, but I've done a lot of breakthroughs. And so that weekend was when I go in and refresh breakthrough, I'm usually in stealth mode on day one, because I want to get in and I want to have the amazing experience that I know that course can provide. But then, John usually does provide me an opportunity to speak and share my story on the Sunday of the event. So that's obviously obviously we felt connected before that. So, but, when I shared my story, I just remember you came up and you gave me the biggest hug, and I felt so loved. I was like, oh, I love her. That's it. We just fell in love with each other. We just got along right from day one.
Well, it was one of those where, because John's events, they're amazing, but they're really intense. And, and you're there and you're listening to his stuff. And then he turns around and says, oh, Emily's been to about 30. And we're like, whoa.
Whoa.
You just got respect for actually going there 30 times. It's like, you went through this 30 times and stuff. And
people like, you crazy. Yeah.
No, what I loved was your vulnerability. I loved your vulnerability. I loved the fact that you weren't over assuming. You walked in and nobody would have ever known that you'd been there before. And I'm going to say this actually, is that I followed you, I think probably every day since, and I don't follow that many people online that often. And I must say that the person I saw in that hotel room to the person I've seen now, and just turned 33 and it's just been your birthday, so happy birthday. I can say that you were one of the most authentic people I've seen, because you live your life as vulnerably, not just through your business life, your personal life, everything, you put it out there. And it's not so that people see it as a voyeur. It's you're sharing that this is me, nooks, crannies and all. And I love that. Where do you get the strength to be that vulnerable?
Well, that's such an amazing acknowledgement, and thank you so much for sharing that. It's I think I forget because it's so normal for me to do that. That when somebody highlights that, it reminds me like, oh yeah, that is pretty authentic and vulnerable. But I don't. It's actually not my intention when I'm doing it. It actually just it comes quite naturally. But I think the answer to your question is really the courage and the strength to share in such a way really comes from two places. One is that I have absolutely no interest in living a life that is shallow and void of meaning. So personally, I'm going to live as fully as I want to, and whatever calls my heart. And I love sharing that. So I get personally a lot of joy out of connecting with other people, and I love connection with humanity. So that really fills my cup when I do that. And so that's one thing, is I really have a commitment to myself. I mean, my story is that when I overcame depression at 19, I made a commitment that I would do whatever it took to live an amazing life. And so for me, living authentically and being myself came as a inherent part of that journey. It was like, I have to do this, otherwise I can't be fulfilled. So it comes from that place. But also the other side of it is that over my career, through being a writer and through standing on stages and speaking and sharing in multiple different ways, I've seen how transformational me sharing a part of my life can be for somebody else. Yeah. And whether it's sharing some wisdom that I've learned, or a story, or something that I've overcome, or my insight, I've seen that make such a big difference in other people's lives that I got hooked on it. I love when something that has happened for me can change someone else's life, and you just never know whose life you're touching. So it really comes from two places, and those two things keep me going. And even I do have the vulnerability hangover, like Renee Brown calls them vulnerability hangovers. Like you share something and then you're like, oh God, did I just share that? Like I tend to have that a little more on stage than on Facebook, but sometimes I have that and I do get vulnerable and human and go, oh my God, what did I just share? That's so raw. But I've never really experienced anything that was detrimental as a result of that. It's for me, it's very much been seeing people's lives get touched, and that makes me want to do it again. So I think I've fallen into this natural groove with that, and I'd like to do even more of it actually. So but it's so lovely to hear that, I'm very flattered and very privileged that you've been following, my journey and sharing in that.
So it's been an absolute pleasure. So, I didn't want to talk about your writing initially, or talk to you about an author, because you are an absolute esteemed author. You're a multi-award winning author. You've written 30 books?
No, not that many. Good Lord. No, I love that. The only person that's overestimated it.
I'm going to get mixed up with your age. I'm like, girl.
I love that. That's a lot. That's too many, honey. That's too many. I have 11 now. So 11. I just released my last one in 2019. It's called Born Great. So yeah, I have 11 published books. Sometimes it feels like 30.
Do you know what? I was saying it. I was like, that's 30. She's 30.
Too many.
That's one a year. Damn.
Give me another 20 years, maybe.
Listen, I have no doubt that you'll do it. But you listen, irrespective of how many books, that's a lot of books for someone your age. And that's a lot of books for someone who has been through what you've been through. What drove you to actually, one, become an author, and two, to be able to inspire other people on this journey?
Yeah, so I've always loved writing, like ever since I was a little girl. I think I believe everyone has like a true identity, like at their core. Like some people are healers, some people are teachers. That's just who they are. I'm a writer. That's me. So I always loved writing from when I was a little girl. I used to write a lot of poetry when I was a teenager. Some of it was pretty dark, but I was hormonal, so it's understandable. And then when I was about 17, I fell in love with self-development, and then I found my place as a writer. I was like, this is what I love to write about. And I think so. I published my first book when I was 23. It was an interview series, and I actually had the opportunity was offered to me. So I was already writing and blogging by then, and I won a couple of awards for one of my blogs. And I was already sharing and in that flow of like touching lives with my writing. And then I got offered the opportunity to write my first book with a publisher. And then my first and second book came out. And then after that, it was when I really started, I think, to more focus on sharing my own content. And then it was just been a growth journey from there. of writing books that feel closer and closer to my core. And I really nailed it with Born Great. I feel like all the playing and experimenting and writing I did in my 20s was just so I could write Born Great and publish it in my 30s. So it felt like all the prep work, kind of like, musicians, they produce music. That's what they do. I just produce a whole lot of books, but now I have like the book. So it's very, very inspiring. A book that really, I think the pages are very much filled with my heart and soul. And that was what I always aspired to do. So yeah, so I think, for me, I always loved to do it. So I think it was destiny. It was always going to happen. For me to write books was always going to be a natural part of my journey. And so I've then, as a result of that, attracted a lot of clients and people who've also wanted my help to share their message and their story, because we attract who we are, And so I've worked with a lot of people, a lot of authors over the last 10 years also, helping them with their stories. But it's sort of a knack that I have because I love it so much myself.
Yeah, I love it. I remember seeing you here 2018, and we added each other on Facebook. How's your mum, by the way? Before I even continue, your mum. Sorry, I have to mention your mum. Your mum.
Of course.
Your mum. How is she?
She's really good. I love that you asked that. I love that. She's really well. She's good. We're brewing her business as well, because Mama Ray's, she's amazing. So Mama Ray's, I have a funny story about why we call her Mama Ray, is that when I was about 26, 27, Ray started working with me in my business. And so then it shifted from me just, being mum and daughter to then having a bit of a professional relationship. And so I kind of hit this point where I was like, I can't call her mum because I feel like a 5-year-old.
Right.
And that's not very professional. And I can't call her Ray because that feels a little cold. So I started nicknaming her Mama Ray, and it stuck. And what's beautiful about it is that ever since I was a child, even my friends would want to get adopted by her, because she has this mothering. I say she's a universal mother. She's got enough love inside her to heal a planet. She's just so beautiful. And the way she loves people is so unconditional and deep and pure. It's so powerful. And her hugs are amazing. I'm sure you'll have one day. She's amazing. Yeah. And so, she's really good. So now I'm helping her like package her gifts and share it and, expand on her purpose on the planet. She's an amazing human being, but she's really well. I'd love
to have her on here one day, because I know she heals with food as well.
And, yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why we connected and stuff. So I can't wait. So say hello to her from me.
I will. I promise.
Because I didn't want to forget. But, back to you. I remember after meeting you in 2018, I started following you on Facebook, and one day you posted something and said, I'm going to write a book. And by this time you had a few underneath, your arm and stuff. And within a year or so, you published this beauty that people, like, literally all I see is pictures of people with the book and the stories that people talk about, how it's transformed their lives, how it's made them realize what they've been through, and that it's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay not to be ashamed of what you go through, and that you can still succeed no matter what. That must be so humbling to hear.
It is. It's also why I do what I do. So it's a funny thing as an author, because you have this desire for the book to, I guess, touch as many lives as it can, but you also are looking for impact, depth of impact. You're looking for, you want it to touch a lot of people. But when somebody is nothing quite like that feeling, when somebody messages you and they write a story, or they tell you, I had one woman say that Born Great is like a fine wine. She said, you just want to savor every part of it. I've done my job, and so, or sometimes all it takes is one comment like that. You go, the whole thing was worth it, because they've just made that impact. And so, yes, you definitely want to share it, but you want to know that it's really reached into someone's life and been there for them in a time where they just needed that reminder, or they needed that encouragement. And I say Born Great has encouragement on every page, because it is ultimately about people rising up in their purpose, having the courage to pursue it, and going after what it is that's inside their heart, because I think there really is just no end to that need for encouragement, for inspiration to keep going, because life and business and technology and podcasts and everything, that comes with its whole range of challenges. And so we need daily encouragement. And so I think even the presence of Born Great in someone's life can bring a little magic in. So it is very meaningful, and it absolutely is the reason that I write.
Well, I just hope that the listeners, not only buy the book, but also follow you on Facebook and on Instagram. So it's Emily Gowor, guys. We'll put it at the bottom of this recording. But that they follow you, because I believe that just hearing bits of your story, I haven't read the book yet, but I will, I promise you. And that's not a threat, that's just I read it.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
Read it. But when I see your life, you can see that you are born great, because you literally live the life that you're meant to be living. You're living the life that you would love, like with all your vulnerability and all the twists. You can see the journey that you've come through. You can see, and nobody can look at your life and go, oh my God, she was born with a silver spoon, and oh my God, you know, look at your face. No,
I'm just going, no, I just wasn't. And you know, I think one of the things I love about my story is that when I was 19 and I was depressed and I really hit rock bottom and had a kind of a near suicidal moment, but I made a commitment that I was going to live an amazing life. I built it from the ground up. Literally, it was like, where do I even start? What comes first? And so for anyone that's in that position where they feel like they need to start over, or they're really unfulfilled, and they want to turn their life around, always, every time I recommend starting with the thing that you love to do, which is what your purpose is. So for me, that was inspirational writing, because that's very much who I am. It's what lights me up. So I knew that I wanted to write, and I knew that I also wanted, because I'd had dreams of this, I wanted to speak on stage, and I knew that I wanted to inspire, and I wanted to help people and share self-development insights every day. And do you know what? Through all the twists and turns of my journey since I started out like 14 whatever years ago, that hasn't changed. That the foundation that I built my life on is still exactly the same today as it was back then. And that gives me a sense of awe, because I realize that your purpose is timeless, and it's who you are, and it's who you are, and that's who you'll be for the rest of your life. It's who you were born to be. It's what you're writing it down. I love that. It's what your life is shaping you to be. And so that's always the first starting point for anyone that goes, I want to be more successful. I want to find my drive. I had a woman say, you know, I wish I had even half the ambition and drive that you do. And I just said to her, I just really love what I do. Right. And you have that inside you as well, but you need to find your calling, and you need to make contact with that, because then it will come naturally. Every human being has that inside them. Every human being has a purpose to fulfill. And we all have greatness inside of us. To the degree to which we express that is a different conversation, because of all kinds of things like emotions and challenges we haven't managed to kind of conquer. But every human being has that, which is why, I mean, the title for Born Great is so perfect. And I didn't think it up. It just appeared in my mind one day. I was like,
how it came.
It just came. And do you know what? I was working on the book for 7 months before I knew what the title was, which is very frustrating for someone who coaches authors, because I'd like to just wave my magic wand and know the title. I just can't. Unfortunately, I'm not. It just doesn't work that way. But and one day it just showed up in my mind, and it was like these 2 words flashed in, Born Great. And I went, oh, wow, that's the title for my book. And I checked it. I was like, oh, I like it. My mind likes it. My soul likes it. And then I realized that it wasn't just the message for the book. It was also my message for the world. And that's when I knew. I was like, this is the book. And that's so much what I'm about, because I realized that that's just where humanity is at. We'll probably always be in that place where we do need encouragement, and I need it too. You know, I'm not someone that said that to me yesterday, one of my team members. She's like, realized that I'm human. Like, yes, I'm put out inspirational content, and I write books, and I have a, you know, multiple 6-figure business, and I've been doing what I love for so long. And I've, you know, had some amazing opportunities, including editing for a book for Demartini and speaking on stage with, you know, influential people. And I've had some amazing opportunities and won entrepreneur awards. I'm still human. I still get vulnerable. I still have doubts. I still have days where I think I suck. After all of that. And I have other days where I have these beautiful breakthroughs and I realize how amazing I am. And that's called being human. But the thing that pulls us through all of that is the purpose, is the thing that we're born to do. And if you just keep staying focused on it, it becomes a true north. And I think that's what guides you towards the life you want. So it is a journey. It's not always easy. And I know that from firsthand, from, you know, my own experience, but also seeing it in others. Nobody's invincible, you know.
I love it. I'm still wrapping in the stew of the fact that all your books were literally almost, you know, footprints to you creating Born Great. That's just a beautiful, tasty
so much
that I could eat, and you know, and I'm still embodying in the warmth of that, you know, and what you also say about your purpose being timeless. I think you're so young, but you've won awards, you've been approached by business leaders to write books for them. And I think some people get terrified, thinking that they're too old and that it might be too late. What would you say to potential writers, aspiring writers?
Yeah, well, I think this advice goes for anyone. I mean, I did, speaking of writers, though, I did read a story about a year or so ago about a 94-year-old man who just published his first book. I was like, yes, I love that. So, yeah, the interesting thing is that sometimes we get really caught up in these societal ideas about how we think life is meant to be. And life is just not that linear. It's just not. You go, I'm going to do this, and then that's going to happen, and then this, and then that. And I've learned that never pans out that way. Sometimes it pans out way better than you expected. And other times there's unforeseen challenges. And so, but we need to take off these ideas about how we think, things should be. Like, I have a client who was like, she's like, oh, I'm starting over with nothing at 50. And I said, well, that's a lie, because you are not starting over with nothing. You're starting over with 50 years of life experience. Exactly. You have gifts, you have skills, you have so much. And so to kind of break down that idea of where she thought she should be by that point in life. And ironically, this will sound funny, even I feel like, oh, there's things areas where I should be more advanced or whatever. And where is this shooting? Like, stop shooting all over yourself. Just stop. And so this is the thing, is that, yes, if it's in your heart, don't argue with it, follow it. And when you're really doing what you love, age is irrelevant. It really is. Because I've had the other end of it, where sometimes people go, well, you're so young. How is that? Because I also look younger than I am as well. I've got the young face going on, which I'm sure I'll love by the time I'm 50, but in your 30s and 20s, it's like, oh, you look like you're 24. I'm like, I'm 33. Like, damn. But that's the thing. But so I've had on the other end of that going, am I too young to do this? I've had that. So, but you can't let that stop you. Like, if you know what's inside you, share it. Because I see, 12-year-olds doing incredible things. And then I see people who are 78 doing amazing things. And so I realize age has absolutely nothing to do with it. It's literally a mindset, and you need to have the courage to follow that vision that's sitting inside you, regardless of age. It's irrelevant. It really is, unless there's a legal requirement, for example, for you to be 18 before you can do something. Other than that, totally irrelevant. It's what's inside your heart. And if you're focused on helping others and making your contribution, and you put your heart into it, to me, age is whatever. It just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It's so interesting. You talk about your intuition, even though you don't call it that. You talk about the name Born Great coming to you. You talk about feeling it in your soul and feeling it in your heart. And I love those words, because in my business, Manifestation Kitchen, it's pretty much the genius of my cooking and my gift of healing that's been brought together. And I work with clients, and I encourage them to reconnect to their intuition, especially women. We're so well known for our intuition, and yet I believe that we lose it quicker, because we tend to go into the programming of thinking we should have been somewhere, could have been somewhere, and then we get what we almost either forget or lose what our purpose is. And I love you talking about this, because I study alchemic writing. And it's something that I'll probably speak to you about at another point, actually. But one of the things that I've been told is that I need to write, and I'm not the greatest writer at all. I know my strengths, and give me a pen. I just don't like writing. I will read into a transcriber and speak and speak and speak and speak and speak, and then it will all do the thing. But I hate writing, and I'm learning how to put a pen to paper and just let it flow. And it's so incredible doing it when you're connected to your heart and your soul. Is that something that you work with your clients as well, or is this a process that happens for you?
I think it's probably a little bit of both. So what you're sharing is about your own experience, for me, is really the key to great writing. So someone asked me a couple of years ago, which is like, Emily, when did you just first discover the power of open-hearted writing? I'm like, oh, that's one of the most amazing questions I've ever been asked, because she tapped into something that I'm doing that I'm not necessarily sharing. And is that I don't tend to write, whether it's an article, a piece of sales copy, an email to my email list, or a book. It doesn't matter what I'm writing. I tend not to write if I'm in like a funky state of mind. So if I'm having like a frustration with something, or I am annoyed with technology, or I just am feeling like cabin fever and I need to go out for a walk or whatever, I don't try to write. I seek that state where I'm very present, I feel very grateful, I'm very inspired, because the writing is always better and it's also easier. And so that rule applies for everything. The other big tip I would say around writing is that you need to have a very clear idea of what you want to say. So what is the purpose of this piece? And what do I want to say? What's that message I want to get across? And having the clarity on that, plus a little bit of structure to what you want to say, that makes writing a whole lot easier. So that, I think, a little bit of structuring and clarity combined with that hard open state, that makes for very good writing. So a lot of my clients, a lot of the work that I've done with authors has been in structuring their ideas, getting their content organized, and then they just unleash. And even people who say they're not really a writer, once they get into the flow and they have a good structure, they're often running, and 60,000 words later, there's a book. And so I love watching that, because that, you know, we have these ideas. I am a writer, I'm not a writer. I'm like, you don't know that you're not a writer until you write something.
You're right.
And you may love it or not love it. That's sort of different. So obviously for me, I love it. But I've seen people who said that they would never write a book, who had dyspraxia, which is like the cousin of dyslexia. I've seen people with dyspraxia write books. So I know that when the message inside you is important enough, it will kind of, like we were talking about earlier with the purpose, it will inspire you to experience it and to get it done. So it is something new, but the power of, like, it's so therapeutic, like pen to paper, incredibly powerful process of discovering who you are and realizing how much is inside you. So it's a very transformational experience, you know, writing of pretty much any kind, where you're sharing a message or sharing a story, even if it's a social media post, that's very transformational.
Yeah, I'm still working on content and everything else. Before I created Manifestation Kitchen, I never really worried about content. I didn't have a clue. And every day I surprise myself, especially in the morning when I'm at my most creative. I surprise myself at some of the things I come up with as captions for my emails. So it's a work in progress, considering that I don't have a formal teacher yet. It's an interesting process. Now, you talk about sharing your purpose. You talk about reaching out to other people. I say to my clients that if you are not sharing your gift with the world, it's a very selfish place to come from.
Oh, intense.
It is.
I love it. It is.
I
agree with it. I like the language. I was like, ooh, it's intense.
Yeah,
a little bit confrontational. I like it.
Yeah.
And I would tend to agree with that. So I would say that, and I mean, I don't know this for sure, but let's just say on average, the majority of the human population tends to focus on their own problems. And so they tend to focus on, which, by the way, that's great. Like, focus on yourself. You deserve a great life. So they're focused on getting a job they like, making some money, having a family, relationship. And it's quite, it's great, but it's individual focused. Sure. But for me, the real magic that I experienced in my life, in fact, I would say all of it, including the wealth and that I've created for myself, has come about when I focused on somebody else. And so focusing on, not in a self-sacrificial, altruistic way, in a contribution way. Sure. So going, I have something inside me, like for example, I love to write. So then when I make that contribution and it helps someone else, that is the doorway to all of the magic. Yes. So for me, that living that life with a direction of service by sharing what's inside you, for me, is the most fulfilling thing. And so when some people are getting stuck, they're getting stuck in their own stuff, and they're kind of going round and round and round in circles, but they're not focused enough on what they could do for the world, really. And so it's almost like they don't realize how much is actually out there and what's available. And when you open yourself up that way, and we were talking about that, like the courage to share openly and authentically and with vulnerability, when you open yourself up that way, great things happen. And that's where you get bigger opportunities, bigger career opportunities, more opportunities to serve people. And you make good friends, you meet new people you didn't know, it's just incredible how much is actually out there. And so I do tend to agree with that we get really stuck if we just focus on ourselves. Yes. And so it's really a balance of the both. Yes, take care of you need to do that, but also have goals that involve the rest of the world, that humanity, and making your contribution in your special way, because your life will change, like, radically, and more quickly or quicker than you can possibly comprehend. It will change very, very quickly when you start sharing what's inside you with the world around you.
Yeah, I love it. So what's next for Emily Gowor? What's next? What's next?
Right in line with what I was just talking about. That was a very nice, smooth segue. So from this point forward, so Born Great released, published, just finished one of my business programs, so my signature business programs called Dream Business Intensives. I love helping people to package their gifts and share them with the world. So I have a program, Dream Business Intensive. So that's now been finished. And so from this point,
sorry, is that what Mama Ray's doing?
No, well, she's part of the program. She's one of the participants in it, but this is a program that I created over the last 2 years. So it's a 30 module training that takes you from 0 to 6 figures a year, every year, doing what you love. So I have that business program is now being done. So from this point forward, it's very much about sharing inspiration with the world. So a lot of social media, a lot of videos, also an inspirational product line. So imagine my beautiful writings, but on wall art in your home. So this is where we're going, a lot of inspiration. So I've been brewing behind the scenes, but yeah, a lot of magic, I think, now unfolding, and it's all about sharing and reaching more people and connecting with humanity, exactly what I was just talking about. And so I'm so ready for that. I'm excited. I'm already enjoying the expansion. So
I'm excited.
It's a lot of fun.
I'm excited. Yeah. I mean, for anybody that's listening, by the way, you literally just need to go on social media and look for Emily, and her surname is Gowor, Emily Gowor, right?
That's
you
correct.
Find her everywhere. You find her on Instagram, you'll find her on Facebook and on her page, and also her website is called emilygowor.com. So you should be able to see all the information that you're looking for her there. And if you need to contact her and ask her any questions, then by all means, you know, you'll be directed onto those pages. So all this exciting stuff, I didn't know that you were doing something like that, and I can't wait. That's amazing. I love.
I've been brewing. Yeah, we've been working behind the scenes and just getting things, you know, really tidy and clean. And so just to basically free me up to do even more writing, because I get very busy with clients and, you know, what I'm doing behind the scenes and authors that we're publishing, and I get very busy with that. So we're just freeing up, you know, a lot more time and space, and you know, working to start sharing so much more of that inspiration that's inside me. I really thought after I published Born Great, because it was about a 2-year journey front to back, I really thought, oh, I'll be creatively empty at the end of this book. And I was okay with that. I was at peace. I was going, this is a big birthing, and maybe I'll feel a little empty for a while. Oh my God, it's been like a torrent. It's not been that way at all. So now we're going, there's going to be, so if you follow my social media, you see a lot of videos coming out, you know, little tips, a lot of inspiration, a lot of little quotes. And then we will be releasing a wall art in the new year, and maybe journals as well. So we definitely have a lot up our sleeve in terms of, you know, sharing inspiration, because it's speaking of purpose, it's what I feel like I was born to do. So it's all about sharing inspirational words with the world. So.
Right. It's so interesting because you can't see my wall or anything, but there's literally just notes and notes and notes. And when you're in that space where you're connected to your higher self and you're doing what you would love, the ideas just keep on flowing. And sometimes you have to stop it. But what I've trained myself to do is I write everything on here and I go, okay, we don't need to do it all today.
Yes, I had to learn that as well. Otherwise, I would never sleep. I just wouldn't get any sleep. I mean, I have 200 plus ideas for videos, articles that haven't been written yet. So, I have a spreadsheet. I had to create a container for them because they just keep coming, and I get a new one almost every day. I walk down the street to go to the shops, and it'll pop into my head, and it's a very finely tuned process now. And so you have to collect it, and then you go, that's okay. We're going to use these over the next year. But very much like you, I just realized we don't have to do everything today. Otherwise, you would just be so overwhelmed. You would never get anything done. I feel sorry for my team because I had to create a project plan. I was like, look, we'll just go by the project plan. Let's just put it. I said, and we'll just do what we're working on now, what we're going to work on next, and later. So then you can schedule it, push it back through time and say, we're going to do this, and this is going to happen now, and then that one's later. So I'm with you. Yes,
completely. So we're almost wrapping up, but I want to know, what is it that challenges you still? You write, you're helping people, you're a mentor, you're a writer, you're a trainer, you get approached. A lot of people don't get approached. A lot of people still have to tout for business, and you're getting approached for a lot of the work that you're doing. What is it that still challenges you in what most people would see as a very prestigious position?
That's a really great question. I like the question because there's a lot of people in this space that say, success, and once you find your purpose, like it'll just be this the most amazing journey, and it
Yep.
almost sells it like you're never going to have a challenge again. I'm going, woo, that's a lie. That's not true.
Right.
It's actually not true. And in fact, you actually end up conquering bigger challenges. They're just better quality challenges than if you gave up on your dreams, right? They're very uninspiring challenges, but if you're going after your path and purpose, is that you don't get rid of that. And I was just thinking about this the other day, is that when I was earning like $20,000 a year, I had challenges. And now that I'm in that six figures, I still have challenges. They're just a different type of challenge. And you kind of get, as Demartini would say, you get promoted to the next level. So you have new challenges, because I'm always going to the next mountaintop. It's like, yes, I'm maybe scaling Everest, but there's all these destinations along the way that you go, okay, now I've done that, next level, done that, next level, done that. And so there's I'm forever conquering and tackling challenges. So it could be anything from like learning paid advertising, so which is something that we're now doing in my business, because I've actually had my company for more than 7 years and not really used Facebook ads. I've had a lot of word of mouth. A lot of it has been very organic. So now we're using adverts and paid ads. So that's a new frontier. So we're getting challenged by that. And then working that out. And, I'm a writer by heart. So Facebook ads is like, what? And I will delegate it, but I need to understand it first.
Yes.
So there's that. And I get challenged by that. But then there's also, okay, how do I make my speaking gigs? How do I make them even better? How do I pick the right outfit for a speaking gig? It's like, how do I look after my health while I'm doing all of this, which is one of the big ones for me. It's like, how do I keep the whole thing balanced? How do we schedule things in time? And so there's a lot of challenges. And then personally, I still have that, occasionally you get can I really do this? And it's times where you're kind of overwhelmed or you're stretching to the next level. People kind of shy away from those experiences where you have the self-doubt pop up. But I'm a big believer that when you reach for the next rung of the ladder, that's when the stuff comes up and you just keep going. And you know what? It's never stopped me before, so I'm not planning on letting it stop me now. So it's just that next level. So I'm constantly growing myself personally. Because yes, I've done some amazing things, but on the inside, on some level, I'm just a chick. It's like there's that side of it too. It's got, I've created so many amazing, beautiful things in my life, but I'm always just, the end of the day, just want to fulfill my soul's purpose on the planet. So there's a myriad of challenges: getting the right team members, hiring the right things. Something doesn't turn out the way you want it to, so you have to recreate it, and it's like just endless. It's just an endless stream of challenge. But you realize it's part of the manifestation process. And you would absolutely understand this. I love the manifestation kitchen. Is awesome because the manifestation process is not always a slippery slide to like, woohoo, like it's not always like that. No. So there's a lot of challenge. And so that's why I want to share that, to have people realize totally okay, totally normal. You're going to have this at every step of the journey, but you're also going to have the other side. You're going to have the blessings and the rewards and the opportunities, and your life is going to be a balance of those two things. So don't be afraid of getting challenged, because I get challenged every day. So, but it's not, it makes it sound so painful, but it's not. It's so rewarding because I'm conquering the mountain. I'm scaling the mountain, and that's awesome.
Yes. So lastly, what is it that, well, it's not lastly, I lied. I've got two more questions. So lastly, what is it that people don't know about you?
Ooh. Deep question. Do you want a silly answer to that, or do you want a serious answer to that?
Whatever.
I give you both. The first one is that, here's the silly one. The silly one is that, weird fact about me, I have a hypermobile lumbar section of my back. So the midsection of my back or the mid to lower, is very flexible. I can put my feet over my head backwards. There's a silly fact. Yes, I can. It's not healthy. We're working to fix it in Pilates. So I'm very, very flexible backwards. So
that's impressive.
That's a silly fact. Not many people know that. That's weird. And the serious fact is that I don't think that many people realize, and this is very, very honest and raw and real. I don't think many people realize how much work I've had to do to have the level of confidence that I have today. So I was very, very, very shy when I was a child, very tentative. So like I would be on the bus, and I would be afraid that the bus wouldn't stop at my stop so I could get off. And I would be terrified that I wouldn't have the courage to say to the driver, I need to get off the bus. I mean, that's how shy I was. It was really kind of timid, is probably maybe a better word for it. So for me to go from that to finding a voice, writing helped with that as a teenager. Because I started to connect with myself, and I found myself through the writing process. And then to come into my adulthood, I had a lot of self-worth challenges in school, which led to the depression and wanting to end my life, because I was like, it doesn't matter. I'm like, actually, that's not true. But I did feel like that. I was like, I'm nothing. I'm not, I had self-worth issues. So to then discover the world of entrepreneurship, and I got in the right circles of people, and that changed everything. It really did. But I don't think many people realize how challenging that has been, and sometimes it still is, to go, okay, well, now we're going to do some videos, and vulnerability kicks in. It's like, whoa, like people are going to see me, and is it all right? Am I going to die? Am I going to die? And I still get nervous doing speaking gigs, and I still have all of that. And I don't think that many people realize that, because I have had a lot of experience speaking, and so I'm a lot more comfortable with it now than I used to be, but not where I started. Like, it's not where I started from. And so that's the other side of it, is that on the inside, I am just a chick. Like, I'm just that. And so but the thing is that when you love to do something so much, and certainly been my experience, it gives you that courage. It gives you that courage to rise up in yourself, because you know deep down that you're born for more, that you're born with greatness inside you. And so I keep leaning into the belief that, well, I was born to be an amazing speaker and writer. This is my destiny. And that tends to get me through the moments where I just want to hide under the covers sometimes. And so I think a lot of courage comes from that. But that's the serious side of what most people don't realize and don't know.
Well, I really appreciate you being honest about that. And, everything we seem to talk about, apart from, the courage and everything else, is really connecting to yourself. And it's that intuition. And it's one of the reasons why, I'm looking for women who are disconnected from their intuition, so that I can help them, or that they can find someone who can help them to reconnect. Because when we reconnect into our intuition, we connect to our higher selves, and then we get the crowns to be the queens. So I disagree with you. I don't think that you're just a chick. I think you're a queen, because you are, because you've overseen all those trials and tribulations, and you're still standing. And even when you get scared, that you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. You get scared, but and there's a picture of you at an award where you've got your hair up and you're wearing this beautiful dress.
The turquoise blue kind of.
Yes. And you stand there and stuff, and you see the vulnerability in your eyes, but also you see the queen as she stands to inspire people. And I think that is just beautiful. That is just beautiful. And I think that's the essence of you. Finally, I'm going to let you go. But before you go, what's the one thing that you would love our listeners to know?
The one that comes through for me is that so strongly is that you've absolutely no idea just how needed you are on the planet. And that the self-worth comes from understanding that, and that's where courage and confidence come from as well. But when you know that you have something unique inside of you that this world needs, and it's like hand in glove perfect. It's exactly what the world needs. The world needs exactly what's inside of you. So when you really, really get that, then your entire life becomes a very different experience, because then you have the joy of sharing that and making a difference. And as we talked about earlier, experiencing a lot of that magic. So the thing that I really just want you to all to embrace for yourself is to believe that, even if you can't see what it is right now, even if you have just, push the doubts aside, even if you have doubts, just know that it's there, because then you'll connect with it, and that will change everything. So just believe that the world needs you. You're not here by random chance. Your life is not just some mistake. You're meant to be here, and you have something critical that this world needs. And so just embrace that and have the courage to pursue that, because that's the door. I think it's the doorway to an amazing life, but it's also how you leave your mark on the planet.
Wow. Well, I've got nothing else to say apart from I'm into that.
Okay. I love that. Well, I love the way you do that. It's beautiful. We wouldn't be sitting here if you weren't doing that. So I love that. And thank you for sharing the space and holding the space for us to have that beautiful conversation.
It's been absolutely wonderful. I'd love to have you back again, because I want to be the person to talk to you about all those beautiful creations you've had on people's walls and everything. And I'm going to be stalking you to make sure that I get my own and buy mine and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I just want to say thank you so much from everybody here at Manifestation Kitchen. Guys, if you want to find out more about Emily, we're going to put this in the notes so that you can see her, find her, and follow her. Emily, thank you so much. I appreciate it. God bless.
Thank you.
Take care.